Hey guys, Jay here, and welcome to another cosplay tips and tricks video. Haven't done one of these in a while, figured why not. So this is my comprehensive guide to buying cosplay. Now, what do I mean by buying cosplay? I'm actually talking about something very specific. This video will not go over buying used cosplay or commissioning cosplay. For instance, buying used would be where somebody is selling their old cosplay because they don't want it anymore for whatever reason. And a commission is where you pay a person to make whatever it is you want, and it's a case-by-case basis and not a mass-produced product. When I'm talking about buying cosplay, I'm talking about .com websites that usually have costume or cosplay in their name. A few examples would be mickcostumes.com, hellocosplay.com, cosplaysky.com, and other such places. They're essentially like any other online store where you buy stuff. There's normally a catalog of some kind, and then you add things to your cart and then you buy them. This also includes sites like Amazon, eBay, AliExpress, or other things like that. All of those sites are essentially the same thing, where they have multiple shops that sell stuff, and most of them have the exact same shops. So it honestly doesn't matter which one you buy from, because if you buy from the same shop, you're gonna get the same thing regardless of which site you use. Now, I should explain how these shops operate. I'm not 100% certain, as I haven't actually looked into them, but based off of my and other people's experiences that I've seen, this is what I've gathered. Think of it like this. There are multiple warehouses with sweatshops that make a whole bunch of stuff. These websites would have contracts with these warehouses to sell their products. And then when you buy the product, it's actually being shipped from the warehouse, not from the site that you bought it from. It's also very likely that these sites have contracts with multiple warehouses, and then they ship from all of them. The reason I think this is because I've seen people get two of the exact same costume from the exact same site, but both people would get different looking costumes. So in this instance, one costume came from one warehouse, and the other costume came from another warehouse that is also contracted with this company. Also, you have absolutely no say in which warehouse it ships from. And this isn't just an example. This is a personal experience I had with the site Easy Cosplay. I'm not going to get into the details here, but if you guys want to hear about that story, let me know in the comments and I'll try and make a video about that. If you look at multiple sites, one thing you're going to notice is a lot of them use the exact same photos. This is because those photos come from one of the warehouses. So if two shops have the exact same photo, this is because both shops contract the same warehouse. So regardless of which one you buy it from, you're going to be getting the same costume. Where the problem lies is, for example, if the site has contracts with two different warehouses that make the same character's costume, but they both make it differently. It's very likely that this can cause a mix-up and you'll get one from the other warehouse that doesn't match the photos at all. I'm almost 100% sure that's what happened with Easy Cosplay. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm going all elitist here on you and saying that you shouldn't buy your cosplay, you have to make it, that kind of thing. I'm not. In fact, a ton of my costumes have been bought this exact same way. So if for whatever reason your only option is buying, or let's say you're a beginner and you don't know how to sew or make things yet, or let's say you want to just make short videos for TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or something, those are perfectly valid reasons to just buy your costume and not make it. Trust me, nobody whose opinion matters even cares in the slightest if you buy your cosplay or not. The only time that it should matter at all that you made your costume is if you're entering a construction contest, which that should be obvious, you're supposed to make it, that's the whole point. But for everything else, it's totally fine to just buy it. Now, there are two major problems that you can run into, so I should probably talk about those. Plus, they're what prompted this video in the first place, because one of these, the second one, has a ton of misinformation about it, and I wanted to be able to just go, hey, here's a video, so I didn't have to type everything up. When you look at these sites, they'll normally tell you what the cosplay is made of. Kind of. They'll usually say something along the lines of uniform cloth. That's not a real thing, that doesn't exist. What they actually mean is a polycotton blend. If you go to a fabric store or get free swatches or whatever, check out Jersey Knit. That's essentially the fabric that you're getting. It's not a bad fabric, it's actually a really nice fabric, but they don't tell you exactly what it is. Or worse, like the example I happened to find, it just says high quality materials. What is high quality materials? I can guarantee you they're not high quality, but whatever. The only other kind of fabric that I'll ever normally use is essentially a pleather. You know, fake leather stuff. It ain't even the good stuff either. It's usually the really crappy costume one. Like if you go to Walmart and you see a leather jacket for a Halloween costume, it's basically that. It really doesn't look good. Normally it's sloppily cut out and like glued on. They don't even stitch it half the time, stuff like that. And not to mention, that's what they normally use for armor. So they don't have things normally like EVA foam or plastic or anything like that. They'll just make it out of their pleather. And it looks really bad, so just be aware of that. You might have to make that, or get somebody else to make it. So moving on to the second one, this is the one that has the most misinformation, and that is the custom sizing that you'll see on these sites. So if you go on these sites and you're trying to pick a size, you'll see like the small, medium, large, whatever, and they'll also have one that says custom sizing or something like that. Let me be absolutely clear here. This does not mean that they're going to make it just like a commissioner would to your measurements. They need your measurements because they'll use them to mix match the larger sizes that aren't listed, because that's how they get you to pay more. They know that most people aren't going to be able to fit these sizes. For example, I was looking for a costume about 5 or 6 years ago, and the site that I was on said that a 32-inch waist was a 4XL. Yeah, I don't think so. So I would have had to pick the custom sizing option, which was actually $10 more. They do this purposefully so that you have no choice but to click that option and pay more money. So like I said, the actual warehouses do have larger sizes in stock, they just don't have them listed. And that's specifically because when you pick those sizes, those are what they're choosing from. People tend to think that this is supposed to be just like commissions, where you'd pay the company and then they would make it and then send it to you. But that's not what happens at all. Everything that you're getting was already made quite a while ago and has just been sitting in the warehouse until they needed it. By the way, this is also why sometimes when you get a costume, it might not smell very good. That's because it's been sitting on a shelf in a warehouse for years. So just remember to wash them before you wear them. Obviously you can try them on first and make sure everything fits right, but once you do that, then wash them to make it so that you're not wearing something that stinks. So with those out of the way, there's a few things you're going to want to keep in mind when buying from these places. The first one I'm pretty sure everybody knows, but just in case, I'll say it here. These come from China. I've never actually met anybody who doesn't know this, but just in case you didn't, there you go. But also, don't expect fast deliveries. Don't even bother doing like a faster shipping option. There's really no point in it. Something else to remember, and this is probably the worst part about buying from these places, is the customer service is just flat out terrible. For example, I bought a costume one time where the waistband was like over double what I gave them, and honestly I have no idea how that's even possible to happen, but regardless, I took a photo of me holding the waistband out where it was like really big, and then also with a ruler showing that it definitely, well, not a ruler, a measuring tape, where it was definitely not the measurement that I gave them. And then what ended up happening is they just apologized. They gave me my money back. They even just said, hey, keep the costume, it's totally fine. They usually don't want to have to ship that back, because if it's their fault, like that, they have to pay for it, and they don't want to. However, some places just do not care. I've had to go to threatening lengths of basically, I'll do what I can to get you shut down type threatening in order to get refunds. And I only do that in certain situations where they're just flat out ignoring me. This is exactly what happened with Easy Cosplay. So again, if you want to hear that story, let me know. So now that I've talked about how the sites work, things to remember, and some risks to keep in mind, I'll be going over part of the process of how to actually buy the costume once you're ready to get one. This is going to be slightly different on sites like Amazon, AliExpress, and eBay, and stuff like that. You'll need to send the seller a message with whatever measurements they ask for in the listing's description. But on the .com websites, when you pick the custom sizing option, normally a bunch of text boxes will appear where you can type in your measurements. I won't be going over exactly which measurements you'll need, because that's going to heavily depend on what you're buying, as well as which site you're buying from. The little text bars that show up will actually be labeled with which measurements they need. A lot of them also have photos in the product description that shows a drawing of a human shape that shows you exactly how to measure the ones they need. It's also probably a good idea to just see if you fit any of their listed sizes. These will not be mixed matched like the custom sizing option, and it should be the exact measurements that they show. So to check if you fit these sizes, these sites will have a size chart. This can either be found in the product description alongside those human drawings for measurements, or if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, normally where you'd find the contact us or the FAQs or something like that, there'll usually be an option for the size chart. Just remember that each site will have different measurements for each size. Unlike here in the US, if you buy, say, a medium, regardless of which store you buy it from, the measurements are going to be basically the same. However, with these cosplay sites, if you took two different ones and looked at their mediums, they could be drastically different measurements. Now, as you may have noticed, I completely skipped over how to get to these sites or how to find a costume while on these sites. I assume you all know how to use a search bar. There's absolutely no reason that you should have to do anything outside of either Googling character name costume or on one of the sites using their actual search bar and just typing the character's name in. The only reason to really use the navigation bar on these sites is if you're just browsing around. And in that case, you're not really looking for anything to buy yet, so it doesn't really matter. So after you've figured out which costume you want, you've either put in your measurements or picked one of the sizes, the rest of it is just like buying anything else online. You add it to your cart and then you complete your transaction. Pretty much all of these sites take PayPal and bank cards, as well as they ship all over the world. Though there may be countries that they don't ship to, so if you don't know if you're one of those countries, then go into their FAQs and it should be somewhere in there. And again, remember, these are coming from China, so don't expect them to come within a couple of days or even a couple of weeks. It could take anywhere from a couple of months to who knows when. The problem usually arises at customs. If you don't know what customs is, that every country, I believe, has a customs, and that's where things coming from outside of the country, they go there first. And so it's like a government thing. They make sure that it's not illegal or hazardous or whatever, and then they give it to whoever is, sending it wherever it needs to go. The main issue is that there's no way to find out how long this is going to take. It mostly just comes down to how backed up they are. So for another example here, I had a commission for a pair of gloves that I did from somebody in Italy. That sat in customs for over half of a year. That's the longest I've ever had to wait. Normally I only have to wait a couple of weeks before they actually get it out. But for some reason, this little package like this big that only had 2 gloves in it was stuck in there for over half a year, and nobody had any explanation why. So it is a rare occurrence, but it is possible. In general, it's a good idea to always order your costume 3 to 6 months before you want to use it. And that's all I can think of for this video. I really hope I'm not missing anything. I'm pretty sure if I am, somebody will tell me. So if you guys want to see any more tips and tricks videos, be sure to leave some suggestions for things that you guys want to know about or things that you want tips on, whatever you guys can think of, and I'll try to make videos about those. Anyway, I hope this video was some help. If you liked it, go ahead and give it that thumbs up, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys later.